Since 2022, many tens of thousands of Ukrainian refugees have fled their war-torn country for the United States using a legal pathway called Uniting for Ukraine. In Brevard, a family of 6 is still adjusting to their new American life. In late July, President Donald Trump said those Ukrainian refugees could likely stay here, but their future is still up in the air.
So, in that pot right there,
Learning how to cook from an early age, Anastasia preps dinner.
are the Ukrainian national dumplings.
Thousands of miles from home.
To me, the family is everything.
In Mariupol, a coastal city near the Russian border, Yuri worked in a factory.
Life was wonderful before the war. Our city was flourishing and developing. They were innovating a lot of stuff and planting a lot of trees, and it was very beautiful.
February of 2022. Russia invaded Ukraine. For weeks, 13 people piled into the family's basement, unsure if they'd wake up the next day.
Our idea was that we didn't want to get buried all at once, as a whole family. So we split between 2 different locations, so if someone would be killed, then the other would be able to dig them out and bury them.
As the war progressed, Yuri and Anastasia say the alive became jealous of the dead.
Просыпались мы не от этого. Каждое утро нас будили снаряды в одно и то же время.
We were waking up not because it was time to wake up, but because every morning at the same time they were bombing the city from the planes. So sometimes we were under the floor of the house, so we were in the cellar. Sometimes it was shaking so much that we thought the bomb would go through and everything would cave on top of where we were hiding.
Yuri, Anastasia, and her then 12-year-old son, Kirill, fled Mariupol in March of 2022.
We were the first ones to get out because our house was hit with a shell and one of the walls caved in.
It was a very difficult decision because there was basically nothing left but to leave.
From the very beginning, the district where we lived was cut off from the rest of the city because we were on the other side of the bridge, which was destroyed. And if people tried to escape through Russia, they were basically being shot at. Their cars were shot at. They were killed. We were in a situation where we thought that we would either be killed if we stayed or we would be killed if we tried to escape. So we had to get out of there and go somewhere.
Mariupol lies destroyed. Tens of thousands have been killed there, and still, the Russians won't end their offensive. They want to make an example out of Mariupol as a city ruin.
I was actually in shock when we were leaving town, because that was the first time that we got to see what it looked like. And by that time, about 90% of the city was destroyed, and 80% of the buildings were destroyed, and everything looked black, burned, like we were watching some horror movie. There were dead bodies lying around, and so we only realized how bad it was when we were leaving. We didn't know before.
The family of 3 wanted to evacuate within Ukraine, but couldn't. They initially went to Lithuania. Anastasia's parents refused to leave until her mother knew whether her other child was alive. She says if he was dead, she wanted to bury him. All the while,
I was explaining, this is what I'm doing, and people would come up to me and say, I want to help. And it ended up being 7 couples, 14 people. And it made the whole thing a lot easier.
In America, Keith Mast was organizing.
I created a website, started an organization alone, and then I asked a couple other people to join me. And the goal was to sponsor a family in Lithuania or Poland or Latvia for a year.
They raised $20,000.
The main thing about this program, Uniting for Ukraine, is that the sponsor is responsible financially and also helping them to get settled. You know, where they're going to live, do they need to enroll in school, insurance, medical insurance, we need a driver's license, social security number. But the main thing, that there was someone in the States who was going to take responsibility for them.
Coincidentally, Yuri and Anastasia were considering their next move.
we literally had one day to decide if we were going to sponsor them. And so we all kind of looked at each other and what are we going to do? And I said, okay, I will sponsor them, sign the papers. Everything went through so quickly. So within, I'm going to say, 10 days, they were in the States.
Keith met Yuri, Anastasia, and Kirill at the Charlotte airport. It was May 21st, 2022. The war began 3 months prior. Anastasia was pregnant the entire time. She and Yuri welcomed a daughter 3 weeks after they arrived in the United States. Her name is Nicole. She was born at Mission Hospital, an American citizen.
We're really happy that she's a U.S. citizen because even if we have to go somewhere else, she'll always have an option to come live here.
When you think of helping a family, you think of maybe getting them settled, providing, 4 essentials. And then maybe they start their own life. And, you have more casual involvement. And we just loved each other right away. And just naturally became a family. And, we didn't have to say, now we're a family. It just kind of happened.
Keith lived with the family for the first 3 months after they arrived. He doesn't have any children of his own. That's not exactly true anymore.
Yeah, so it's not just they're benefiting. I am benefiting, every day. I get the photos out of Nicole. See my granddaughter. Because everyone is showing me their photos. And so now I get my photos out. Look what Nicole did today. So.
Keith and Kirill, who did not want to be on camera, grew close.
He's been, it's more than just helpful. It's like he's been like our protector, honestly.
Although they no longer live together, they are still very much a part of each other's lives. Keith is over for dinner, a 1-2 punch of traditional Ukrainian flavor. Anastasia says Keith and Nicole are the only Americans she knows that like borscht. You can add me to that list now.
We had like a thing that our family would cook one day, he'd cook another day, and it was like that until he actually tried my mom's food, and then it was just us.
That's true.
The main course, the Ukrainian national dumpling vareniki, chock full of cabbage, carrot, potatoes, and onion. It was exceptional.
How do you know?
Dinner lasted hours. Conversation unending despite the obvious language barrier. Kirill, a sophomore at Brevard High School,
yeah, we have that tradition.
Helped translate in perfect English.
Our older son is pretty much an American boy now. He has American friends, behaves like an American boy, and we expect that there would be some kind of psychological issues if we have to move to a different country. And as far as our daughter, she was born here, and that would also be a psychological stress.
The family is legally protected through May of 2026.
It is literally a presidential decision for these types of things.
In June, the family submitted an extension request to immigration services, but has not heard anything back.
Well, of course, we're scared of deportation with what we see in the news when people get stopped, arrested in the street, put in immigration jail, and being deported.
There's some other immigrants that have been revoked. Their status has been revoked. So we're saying let them stay as long as they were promised, which is till May 2026.
After May of next year,
I've kind of put that aside for now because there's so much to do as a family. Actually ask myself, when is it going to hit me? But it hasn't yet.
It's, a whole different feeling to wake up without hearing a bomb flying by or hearing soldiers fighting. It's just you wake up, there's quiet outside, you know you're safe because you're in a different country, you know your family members won't get killed any minute, or honestly yourself.
Я уже другую жизнь не представляю. Это очень
We
тяжело.
resettled once, which was a very big undertaking. It's very difficult to start living a new life in a new place. So if we have to do it again, I don't know how many people can live through that and stay sane.
Anastasia and Yuri, like Keith, focus on what they can control. Yuri works as a mechanic at an auto shop. Anastasia in the kitchen at Brevard College. Both are surrounded by immigrants.
Да, я не считаю их.
I don't consider immigrants different or bad. They're all very nice people. They all help us.
Если честно, я...
If there are some bad apples, maybe they're breaking the law, maybe they should be punished. But most people are working and they're paying their taxes. They're living by the rules of the land. And so if they're following all of the principles and laws of the United States, then I don't see why they should be treated badly.
Anastasia baked her first cake when she was 11. She dreams of opening a Ukrainian bakery where she can make apple cake like this. But for now, she sells her sweets in Vareniki at the farmer's market nearby. In Ukraine, Anastasia says you don't get up from the table until all the food is gone. We fell short that night at her house in Brevard. Outside, a Ukrainian flag waves proudly at its American counterpart. In Brevard, Justin Berger, News 13.